Welcome to another episode of the How to Fight with a Longsword series, or in other words, the Liechtenstein-style longsword fencing basic course. In this episode, we'll learn the first of the Meisterhaw, the Zwerchhaw. The Zwerchhaw is also one of the View Versetzen. View Versetzen is one of the Hauptstücke. It is 4 of the 5 named cards, or the Meisterhaw. Each of these 4 cards is designed to work against a specific card position. Danzig separates the Meisterhaw from the Hauptstücke, leaving him with 5 cards and 12 Hauptstücke. Ringegg includes the 5 cards in the 17 Hauptstücke. Now, before we start with the actual subject of this video, please do note that the incorrect examples are executed on purpose so that the issues are easier to see. All the techniques based on the historical sources are shown according to my current interpretation. As such, they are subject to change if I ever come up with or run into a better interpretation. Let's talk briefly about the so-called thumb grip. To start off, it is not specifically mentioned in the manuscript. It is a modern concept trying to explain a way to hold a sword. The manuscripts simply tell you to turn the sword so that your thumb is under or something similar. Many people in modern HEMA explain thumb grip as rotating the sword 90 degrees in your hand so that your thumb rests on the flat, hence the name. In my opinion, there is not a single thumb grip. It simply refers to anything else but the normal way of holding the sword, that is, the edges being in line with your forearm. As such, the thumb grip is simply rotating the sword in your hand to suit the cut. In this case, the specialty cut in the Liechtenstein system. With a thumb grip, you should still aim for a proper handshake grip. That is, you want to have as large angle between the blade and your forearm as possible. You also want to keep the base of your thumb in line with your forearm. There are few ways to switch from a normal grip to a thumb grip. In my opinion, it is good to learn to do this using your thumb. Simply push the crossguard with your thumb to rotate the sword. Then fix your grip if need be. The idea is that if you do this properly, you can do it very fast and without a need to fix the grip after the rotation. You basically just relax your grip and use your thumb to explosively rotate the sword. This makes it possible to rotate the sword mid-cut. The easiest way is to just use your non-dominant hand to rotate the sword. This is the easiest to do with bulky fencing gloves. It is also the way most people do this if they don't specifically try to change the grip during the cut. Zwerchhaw is in my opinion one of the most useful cuts in the Liechtenstein system. When done correctly, it is an extremely useful force lock and a counterattack. As already said, Zwerchhaw is one of the View Versetzen. In the case of Zwerchhaw, it breaks or counters the Fontag. This doesn't mean it makes the guard useless, it simply makes attacking someone in that specific guard relatively safe. This is what I see the principle of View Versetzen being. It gives you the tools to effectively and safely to attack an opponent in any guard position. I would like to add that Zwerchhaw doesn't work just against the Fontag. It works against any high cutting guard. Basically, if you fence against someone who use guards outside the 4 basic guards in the Liechtenstein system, or if they use a completely different system altogether, Zwerchhaw can still be very useful. As long as your opponent has their hands roughly chest height or higher, and the point is not directly threatening you, Zwerchhaw will work. But now, to the Zwerchhaw itself. The Zwerchhaw is done in a thumb grip. The grip should be close to 90 degrees. From the dominant side, it is cut using the short edge. Zwerchhaw is cut horizontally or close to, usually at head level. Your hand should be at least eye level, preferably a bit higher. Your arms must be straight. The cut is done with a diagonal passing step. When cutting, you must make sure that you don't cut with your hands first. This is a very easy way to get a cut to your hands. You must lead with the blade of the sword. Also, don't keep your hands directly in front of you so that they cross. You want to cut so that your hands go past your shoulder when seen from the front. As already said, you need to have your hands at least at eye level. If your hands are lower, the sword won't protect you from attacks. More about this in the paired drills. You need to extend your arms so that they are straight. Don't have your hands close to your head. This makes actually cutting with the Zwerchhaw much more difficult. However, this can be useful at a very close distance. By keeping your hands close to your head, you can still cut at a very close range. Unlike with an Oberhau, as the power generation comes almost completely from the rotation around your spine, this makes it possible to still have an effective cut. Also, don't bring your hands too high. There is not really any need to, and it once again makes cutting more difficult. Now to the first exercise. Stand in vom Tag. I recommend that you are already in the thumb grip, so you don't need to change the grip before or during the cut. To make the cut, extend your arms slightly towards your dominant side so that your hands are at least at eye level. The point should be pointing roughly forwards and be at level with or slightly lower than your hands. Make sure that your wrists are straight and that your hands are centered. This must happen before you come in contact with your imaginary target. Cut so that at the end position your arms point roughly 45 degrees to your non-dominant side. Remember to take a diagonal passing step. Return to vom Tag and repeat. Next, a very common Vorschlag-Umschlag combination. First cut a Zwerchhaw just like in the previous drill. Then bring the sword around horizontally by rotating your hands in place. As the sword passes behind you, take another diagonal passing step, now towards your non-dominant side, and cut a second Zwerchhaw. It is important that the sword travels roughly on a horizontal plane. Don't bring the point up or drop it down. If you need to bring the point up, it is usually because your hands are too low and you need to bring the sword up so that you don't hit yourself on the head. Again, you don't want to keep your hands directly between yourself and your opponent. When seen from the front, your hands should move from side to side so that they pass your shoulder line. Make sure that the second cut is actually made with the edge of the sword. It is a common mistake to turn the sword so that the second cut lands with the flat. Next, a single Zwerchhaw with a partner. Both fencers stand in vom Tag at a passing step distance. The trainee has the sword in a thumb grip. The trainee cuts a Zwerchhaw at the coach's head with a diagonal passing step. Notice that with a Zwerchhaw, especially with a diagonal step, you need to stand a bit closer. Return to the starting position and repeat. Next, the same drill but with an Umschlag. The starting situation is the same. The trainee cuts a Zwerchhaw to the coach's head. This time the coach parries. After the parry, the trainee cuts an Umschlag with a second Zwerchhaw. Remember to take a step towards your non-dominant side. The step must be so that you are at the correct distance to land the cut properly. Make sure that the coach turns their head towards the second Zwerchhaw. It is easy to get hit to the back of the head if the coach turns to the direction of the parry and then doesn't turn their head towards the second cut. Next, the same drill, but sometimes the coach doesn't parry. In this case, the first Zwerchhaw must land and there is no need for the Umschlag. Then we get to why it is important to have your hands at least at eye level and extended. The Zwerchhaw works as a counterattack against all descending attacks, basically the Oberhau. To protect yourself from a descending attack, you need to make sure that your opponent doesn't hit you over your sword. The two things which affect this are how forward your hands are and how high they are. The higher and further forward they are, the better they generally speaking protect you. As explained earlier in the series, you want to have your arms extended to deliver a more effective cut. As such, extend your arms forwards and keep them roughly at eye level or a bit higher. This allows for effective cutting while protecting yourself. Now the Zwerchhaw as a counterattack against an Oberhau. This is one of the drills for which gloves are very useful to have. If you don't have gloves, be very careful not to get the trainee's fingers hurt. The starting situation is the same as for the previous drills. Both fencers stand in vom Tag at a passing step distance. The trainee holds the sword in a thumb grip. The coach cuts an Oberhau at the trainee's head with a passing step. The trainee counters with a Zwerchhaw from the dominant side. The trainee doesn't take a passing step. If the coach is too far for the counterattack to land, the coach wasn't close enough to land their own cut. The trainee can also make the counterattack with basically a sideways step towards their dominant side. The step should be mostly to the side and only forwards enough to properly land the cut. It is very important that the trainee doesn't lead with their hands. This is the easiest way to catch the Oberhaw with their hands. Also make sure that the Zwerchhaw is a counterattack. Don't turn it into a parry riposte. As usual, after a while the trainee skips the Zwerchhaw every now and then to make sure that the coach's attack is good. Next we bring the second Zwerchhaw to the counterattack drill. Every now and then, maybe half of the time, the coach changes the attack to a parry mid-cut. If the coach parries the counterattack, the trainee cuts a second Zwerchhaw. If the coach doesn't parry, the first Zwerchhaw must land. And finally, the previous drill but with free movement. In addition to just targeting the head, it is possible to also cut a Zwerchhaw to a low target. To do this, you need to drop the point, but keep your hands high to protect yourself. This will considerably shorten your reach the lower you aim. As a solo drill, cut with the Zwerchhaw to the 4 openings. Instead of using the 4 cuts of the Maya square we learned earlier, we are going to start with a low cut. The order of the cuts is the following: low Zwerchhaw from the dominant side, high Zwerchhaw from the non-dominant side, high Zwerchhaw from the dominant side, low Zwerchhaw from the non-dominant side. Using a low Zwerchhaw as a Vorschlag can be very effective as people tend to presume a cut to the head. Remember to keep the cuts horizontal. Even though we are cutting from high to low and low to high, you don't want to make diagonal cuts. Next, a simple pair drill. Both fencers stand in vom Tag at a passing step distance. The trainee attacks with 4 Zwerchhaws, as explained in the previous solo drill. The coach parries while staying still. The trainee must step with each cut. It is up to the trainee to be at a proper distance for each cut. Finally, the same drill, but now the coach backs up with each parry. Once again, it is up to the trainee to maintain correct distance. Before we get into the recap, go and stab that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Zwerchhaw is one of the 5 named cuts, often called the Meisterhaw. Danzig separates the 5 cuts from the Hauptstücke, leaving him with 5 cuts and 12 Hauptstücke. Ringek includes the 5 cuts in his 17 Hauptstücke. Zwerchhaw is also one of the View Versetzen. View Versetzen is a Hauptstücke consisting of 4 of the 5 Meisterhaw. These 4 cuts are each designed to counter a specific guard position. Zwerchhaw is the cut which breaks or counters the vom Tag. This simply means that it is relatively safe and effective to attack against someone in vom Tag with a Zwerchhaw. Zwerchhaw can be used as a counterattack against any descending cut.